What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of the And Action Filmmaking Podcast. This week, we're going to talk about something that I think all creators, all entertainers, and flat out all people have to deal with, and that is stress management. Mike, how the hell are you? You don't look stressed. You look very relaxed. What's your secret, brother? How you doing?
Well, I'm good, Tommy, and I had a interesting week as you did too, buddy. I'd like to thank our mutual friend David Gear for kind of giving me the opportunity to send in my materials, and I was cast as this henchman in this Blunt movie for work, 3 days, and today was the final day of filming. And my friend Bob DeChico let me sleep on his couch last night near the set. He happened to live very close to the movie set, which saved me driving at 5:30 in the morning. And bro, it was a long day. I think I was on set for 11 hours, and I'm fully refreshed now and looking forward to the stress that beats the test episode of In Action.
Yeah, a quick shout out to Richard Switzer, Chad Birdie Jr., Paul Luba. Those guys are out there working hard, making a great movie. Um, and we're excited about that. And of course, it was a long day, but I got to say, it was not a stressful movie set. This was a really chill set to be on, despite a lot of crazy weather. I don't know where y'all are watching the show from, but up here in the New England area, it's hot as a motherfucker. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's just like a crazy heat wave that we're experiencing right now. This isn't just, one or two isolated days of heat. This has been just fucking brutal, man. So that was like probably the biggest stress on set today, just having to deal with the heat, not actually melting on set.
not a day that you want to be wearing all black like I was, but there was actually some rain today, which kind of cooled things off a little bit. And Tommy, on that same gratitudinal note, I think 4 or 5 or 6 people in the last 72 hours have said they've been watching the End Action broadcast. Our friend Brenda, who's a wonderful lady who works in a lot of films. She's does hair, and she's been watching. She introduced other people to it, and our buddy there, Sweeney, our DP friend from Connecticut, he's been watching, and just a lot of people. Kim Kaling, of course, and Bobby DeChico again, and a lot of people have been watching and giving compliments to the show. So I want to thank everyone who's been encouraging to us because it always helps us do more content here.
Yeah, we can't thank you enough for watching, and we just want to keep this ball rolling. We've been really dedicated to putting out an episode a week, and we appreciate that you've been dedicated to chiming in and watching those. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, tell your friends about the show. It really does go a long way. Um, that said, Mike and I had a long day, but we're pretty fired up despite that. I got to admit that I had a little bit of a shorter day than Mike. I didn't have to arrive until around, I think my call time was 8:30ish, somewhere in that window. Mike was there, as they were milking the cows. I
Right.
rolled in a little bit later, but I really did just have a great day on set. It was really cool working with Anna James, the director, really talented woman. She also wrote the script, so it was cool to work on my very first Anna Elizabeth James movie and be around a lot of really cool people and meet some new friends and work with some old friends as well. Like that's what you always hope for, right? So today was not stressful. This was a very stress-free day, but there were still some little stresses. Like I drove a fast car and I could have done something crazy. Thankfully, nothing bad happened. But it was an easy day for us. But the bottom line is, anyone knows if you're involved in movies, it can get pretty crazy and it can get really just intense. And I think a lot of times we build the stress up in our minds and we create these stressful environments that really don't need to be there. And when you get stressed out, for me at least, your creative powers can suddenly start to falter and get sapped, and you can run out of juice. So today we're going to talk all about. Remember, Mike and I are not board certified clinicians in any way. I have to put that warning. There's a warning across this. You can't sue us if you try this advice and you lose your fucking mind. Don't try to sue us and say Mike and Tommy gave me some horrible medical advice. This is not that kind of program. This isn't a therapy session.
Did you
We're
see my suicide prevention class certificate though, Tommy?
That's
I,
right, Mike. Show
I
everybody. That's
well, I
true. You
can't. My
no, he
wallet's
doesn't
not
have
on
the
me,
wallet.
but next
Mike
week
actually
I'll.
did take a which I this is not a joke. Like, I think it's really cool that you
Right.
did that. Like, all kidding aside,
Thanks.
Mike is actually certified. So, all right. Well, maybe Mike is a little more certified than I am. I am not certified in anything except for maybe certifiably insane, which is why we're talking about how to manage stress.
Right.
Um, so again, we're talking about the effects of stress on the creative process. Now, everybody's different. I've had situations where sometimes stress has helped me out. Almost sometimes they'll say, and not to make a sports reference, but like a big game pitcher, the kind of pitcher who like wants the ball game 7 of the World Series. And I'm not saying that's what I am, but I'm saying I have felt those moments when it's like, hey, you've only got 3 hours to shoot this scene and we got to leave this location and your actor is going to be wrapped. Go. Like that kind of stress can actually
Right.
be fun in a weird way. That's when the proverbial bullets are flying and you're jacked up and you're feeling what it's like to be alive. Those kind of stresses are okay, and you've got to feed off of them and you got to use them to fan your fire. Um, Today, we're talking more about the stresses that we, well, kind of bring upon ourselves, the stresses that we create in our own minds, which I don't know about you guys, and maybe this is a trait of creatives, but your mind can be like a weird, kind of like a sculpture that you create within. And sometimes some of the shapes that you make in this sculpture might exist in your mind, but they don't exist in reality. They're kind of just free forming thoughts that you created, and uh, forms of paranoia. And a lot of scary things can creep in your head when you're stressed out. And you can start to, this happens to me all the time, but you start to create situations and scenarios in your head that may not really be there because you're upset about something or you're worried about your spot, your proverbial
Right.
spot in life or in the entertainment world being taken from you. So I think like the first thing to think about when dealing with stress is to frankly find ways to compartmentalize. You really
Mm.
got to be a compartmentalizer, particularly like when you're, for me, like, whether you're acting or writing or directing, it requires so much creative energy and focus that if you're stressed out about something that's bothering you outside of the workplace, whether it is you got into a fight with your significant other, or you found out that that bill that you thought you could afford to pay, you can't pay it now, and oh man, that's due at the end of the week, like whatever. Again, these are just normal day-to-day stresses that we all have to deal with. I got to pick up my kid at soccer at 3 o'clock. I don't know what I'm going to do. um, you really have to find ways to selfishly, as fucked up as that sounds, not give a fuck about that stuff if you want to be successful. And I don't mean like, yeah, obviously, if there's an emergency and somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I need you to come pick me up," whatever, that's different. But I'm saying like you need to find a way to go to almost like this kind of like selfish place where you really put up a wall around all that shit and say to yourself, "Okay, for 1 hour," and set the timer. I do that shit on my phone all the time. Set a timer for 1 or 2 hours and say, "All right, I'm going to set this timer for 2 hours, and I'm not going to think about what's fucking with me for 2 whole hours." If I find myself thinking about, nope, nope, 2 hours, we told ourselves, clock's ticking. Put that shit off and don't even think about it, whatever it is, and get your work done for that stretch. That's that time, and that 2-hour stretch, that's when you should be writing. That's when you should be, "Oh, I'm gonna go on set and I'm gonna act." And I know it's easier said than done, but sometimes when you put an actual time limit to it, it can actually like make your brain kind of feel at ease. Cause like, let's face it, like some people like to dwell on whatever's stressing them out and bugging them.
Right.
When you're dwelling on this stuff, that's when the creation of all these scenarios happens. So I think that's step one. And again, this is just advice that like these are things that I've done in my life that have helped me. Maybe they can help you too. I ain't guaranteeing that's going to work, and I ain't saying put off your shit till later. But that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm kind of saying Yeah,
That's
you might
okay.
have a problem. Deal with it later. You have to deal with it later. You're never gonna get your shit done.
Well, buddy, I think about what you were saying, and I think a lot of times people predict issues. In fact, I've done this, you've done this. A lot of people we both know do this all the time, where you predict an argument in your head, or you predict the worst case scenarios, the second worst case scenario, the third worst case scenario. You have all these little mini conversations. I talked to a friend of mine yesterday, Tommy, a good friend of mine. She was concerned that she had upset a friend of hers on the phone because the dog was barking or some such thing. And it's people get into these conversations in their own mind, and ultimately those are not really healthy. I mean, if you really think that someone's got an issue with you and they are a friend, you can always just pick up the phone and talk to them. And I think in this day, speaking of the phone, Tommy, I think a lot of stress comes from these magical phones. Although I'm happy to be on mine right now for this broadcast. Usually I use a computer. This time I'm using the phone. The phones that we have now are great, the smartphones, the devices, as the kids say. But they're also a thing, bro, where you see people just drilling their thumb into their fucking uh, palm all the time with this magical phone in it. And if you're in the situation where you can put the phone down for a few hours, I know some people have sick relatives or something like that, and maybe they can't. But if you're in a position where at all you can take an hour off from the phone, 2 hours, 3 hours off from the phone, you'd be amazed how your thinking clears up, not just for that 2 or 3 hours, but for the duration of your day, because your mind is just getting a break from it.
Mike, I got to take a swig of bang for that. I think that was a really excellent point you just made. Cheers to that wonderful point. We're going to drink a little sip of caffeine to that because we've been working at it all day.
Hmm.
You're absolutely right, Mike. You mentioned the phones. Obviously, it's great to get the fuck away from your phone altogether, and you'd be amazed at the kind of freeing and refreshing thoughts that you can have if you just get away from that phone for a little bit. And guess what? Those text messages, those phone calls, those emails, they're still going to be there in an hour or two when you return, and nobody's going to fucking drop dead. They really aren't. It's not that serious. So I think you're going to feel that if you get away from your phone, oh my God, like you suddenly start living again.
Right.
And I think the other thing too, back to the phone, and we don't mean to shit on these phones. Phones are terrific. Like Mike said, we wouldn't be doing this show without it. We wouldn't be booking jobs. We wouldn't be able to do um, our Zoom auditions or send a tape in, whatever. Not shit
Photographs,
on
all that
phones.
stuff. Yeah.
We're just saying, like, I think that in this day and age, like, it's one of those things where like phones are great, but you need to learn that it's not sewed to your fucking hand. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, there have been great inventions throughout the history of humanity. It doesn't mean that we need to actually have them physically attached to our fucking bodies. Um, and I think another part of that, which causes stress, and we're definitely never going to change the world on this, and we're not going to change anyone's, you know, uh, mindset, but maybe we can change how they feel. Well, maybe we can change the mindset. We can't stop this from happening, but
Right.
we can maybe change the mindset, and that's text messaging. I think sometimes so many messages get misconstrued, and so many people say to themselves, like, "Oh, was that a mad text? Were you mad? Were they mad? They only texted one word. They only texted one letter. What did this mean? What did that mean?" I feel like we find ourselves spending so much time analyzing and breaking down text messages and going back and rereading them and saying, "Well, what did this person really mean?" And trying to find the, no pun intended, subtext to every fucking text. And what they oh, they just sent an emoji, whatever. I think that, people need to remind themselves once in a while, and I know time is of the essence, but sometimes like a good old fashioned 30-second phone call, 90-second phone call can just sure so much fucking pressure and question up. And this feeling of like, are they mad? Are they, whoa, what's their tone of voice? Hearing that tone of voice can like make everything change. But when someone just hits you with like K, it's kind of like, oh, go fuck yourself. How about that?
Right.
Like
The
all
inflection is lost.
all I'm worth is K. And it's like, well, no, maybe they didn't mean go fuck yourself. Maybe they were just busy and they were just, okay, they wanted to acknowledge you. So it's like we unfairly judge people based on how they felt like typing some shit when they were probably fucking driving, which you're not even supposed to do. It's very dangerous.
Right.
We don't own that on the And Action podcast. But my point is, most people are fucking half preoccupied with some bullshit when they text you back anyway. So try not to read too much into that stuff. But remember, sometimes a phone call can just be so much fucking easier and less stressful. And my final note on that is, and I'm sure we can all relate to this. How many times have you been engaged in a volley of text messages where you're firing back and forth like it's the fucking Revolutionary War and you got lines of fucking men firing volleys of musket text messages all fucking day long? They're
Yeah.
texting each other all fucking day about some bullshit that could have been summed up in one minute conversation. So now, like, I've got fucking 2-3 hours worth of little horseshit going on, and I
Right.
gotta fucking stop what I'm doing to get back to you every fucking 20-30 minutes when this new message comes in, when we probably could have just got on the phone and said, hey man, what's this? What's going on? What are we gonna do? All right, let's set this up for later. All right, you know what? I'll call you tomorrow. Let's deal with it then. Whatever. But
As the
instead,
wrestlers, go
go
ahead.
ahead, we just want to go back and forth
Well,
all fucking day.
as the wrestlers say, you could squash this. And speaking of wrestlers, I also saw our buddy Flip Gordon there at the film set today, and Flip has a big match coming up for the National Wrestling Alliance. But Tommy, you're right, man. And Kim Kaling has just sent me a personal text. She's laughing out loud at your humor tonight, buddy. She's
No, we're fired
enjoying
up. We're
your
fired up.
riffs.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It's good to see you. And yes, Blunt was a great set. Kim just chimed in. And yeah, quick shout out to Flip Gordon. We saw him tonight. What a talented guy, and really like what a nice guy. Like Flip is super athletic. He does unbelievable things in the ring. He looks like a human action figure. And he's also just a terrific guy and a fun guy to kind of chop it up with. So those are those are great people like that. You know, people that kind of have a little bit of got a little bit of everything going on, that guy. So we like Flip. But I want to keep on task here. I want to talk about stress because as
Let
you can
me,
see, go ahead, buddy.
if I could comment on your texting thing, buddy. This past
Yeah.
recently, I opened up my phone on a Saturday morning, and you know how like you put your phone on and suddenly you get this flurry of all the
Sure.
messages you missed. So I get all these texts, like you said, and not only do I have a text from a friend, but he's actually invited another friend, and this is all friends to do with professional work actually,
Hmm.
into a text thread. So now there's three guys in this text thread, and I'm the third guy to the party because my phone was off, and I'm trying to catch it. But bro, I was so exhausted. I wasn't really thinking straight, and the without going into the details, the text got a little bit heated and a little bit confusing to the point where I was getting angry, and I wasted about 45 minutes getting confused, getting angry, and like you said, if I had just had the ability to pick up the phone and talk to these guys, it would have been squashed in a minute. But because there's three people on text and there's a lack of clarity, it got to be, at least for me, very frustrating. And guess what, Tommy? Because that was the first thing I experienced that day, that situation stuck with me for several hours. Like I was in a bad mood for
Sure.
6 or 7 hours based on that silliness. And it's unfortunate because, as we know and we've experienced, no one lives forever. And the more time you're frustrated or upset unnecessarily, the less time you have to be happy.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that as we move on through the show. But remember, and I don't mean this to sound morbid, but the one kind of certainty is that we're all gonna die. I'm gonna die. Mike's gonna die. All your friends, we're all gonna be dead someday. I
We
know
all
that
have that in common.
that sounds real shitty, doesn't it? Well, guess what?
Uh,
Get used to it because it's going to happen eventually. But
right,
hey, while we're here, let's have the best run that we can. Let's feel as good as we fucking can the whole way through because we know what the end of this movie is. We
right.
ain't getting out alive. So, in the meantime, let's put things in perspective, and we're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about what really matters later on. But I want to bring up a little bit of a kind of funny quote about this is from the film Pumping Iron, which is a great documentary. It's almost like a mockumentary. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger. It stars Franco Colombo. If you haven't seen it, of course, there's Lou Ferrigno who played the Incredible Hulk. It's just a classic 70s testosterone fueled bodybuilding movie, basically following the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Austrian oak, when he was a Mr. Olympia, long before he was making $40 million a movie or what whatever he's getting paid or got paid in his heyday. And there's a
Milk
quote
is
that
for
Arnold.
babies.
Well, that is one of the quotes in the movie. When you grow up, you drink beer. But this quote is kind of it sounds kind of ridiculous, and it is ridiculous. Let's face it. Arnold was playing a character when he said this, even though it was a documentary. Like he openly admits that he took his personality, and if it was at like a 7, he dialed it up to like a 12.
Yeah.
And guess what? The editors ended up using his shit more than anybody else in the movie, and well, maybe that has something to do with why he went on to be a mega movie star. It certainly got his career off the ground. So Arnold's talking about, and I'm not going to do a bad Arnold impression because I don't do one, but he's basically talking about if my secretary calls me, if I'm training for a contest and I'm in the middle of a workout and my secretary calls me and says, Arnold, someone's just stolen your car. I'm going to tell her, I'm going to say, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. Because to him, like what matters right then is that workout. Like I need to finish this workout. The car's gone. I ain't ever gonna get it back, or maybe I'll get it back down the road. But right fucking now, I need to do this workout. Otherwise, guess what? I won't be Mr. Olympia. That's who I am. That's all that matters to me is being Mr. Olympia and winning this fucking contest. Take my fucking car. And see that attitude right there? It sounds ridiculous, and it kind of is. But guess what? To be the champion or to be the best at something, you kind of got to be fucking ridiculous. You got to be a
Yeah.
little crazy. You have to be almost crazier than everyone else in a way. So I think that level of focus and that level of compartmentalization, that's kind of what Arnold's saying in his like flippant 1970s flowing locks, big muscle bodybuilder way. He's basically saying like, look, bad things in life are going to happen, but if you really want to be great at what you do, don't fucking care. Cause like put that shit away. Like deal with it later. What do you finish this workout or finish that script or finish that scene that you're writing or focus on that scene that you're acting in or or that scene you're directing, whatever it is. So remember, just don't care sometimes. I know it sounds like ridiculous and sophomoric, but you really got to learn to not care.
I was training for Mr. Olympia, my third title, and they called me and said, Arnold, your father has died. You must come home to the funeral. And I said, why should I stop training? My father is already dead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what he said. Clearly, Mike is not above doing a really bad Arnold
I
impersonation.
thought it was okay.
Ah!
Arnold.
Chime in what you
Arnold.
think, folks, down below. You don't need to be mean. We don't need to be offensive, but maybe just simple thumbs up if you thought the impression was good.
My
Thumbs down
father is
if you
already
thought it
dead,
if you
Tommy.
thought it was the drizzling shits like me, because I thought it was pretty bad. Give it the old thumbs down. Um,
Yeah.
it's okay, Mike. Yeah, I've seen you do other much better impersonations, but you tried. And I knew it was Arnold. I guess that's what an impression.
Yeah.
I guess that's all that matters. So let's talk about negative stress and dealing with people's bullshit
Right.
because I think we all can relate to that. Whether you're whether you're a dentist, whether you're driving a garbage truck, whether you're a fucking lawyer, whether you fly the goddamn space shuttle, you can deal with people's bullshit at work, and you can relate. I should say, you can relate to people's bullshit at work. How do you deal with stressful people, Mike? How do you deal with people that just fucking get to you? Let's face it, there are some people, like as little kids when we're in nursery school and kindergarten, we're taught that everybody can be friends and
Right.
everyone should like everyone. Well, guess
Play in the
what?
same sandbox, yeah.
That ain't fucking reality, and the fact is, not everyone's gonna be friends, and not everyone's gonna vibe with you. You ain't gonna gel with everybody. There's gonna be some people that just get under your motherfucking skin. And guess what? Part of being like a successful person is understanding that, well, I don't really like this person, and I would never have a fucking beer with them. I would never so much as, like watch a goddamn movie with them. We're not going to go out to dinner. But you got to understand that, like, we must work together. We must find a way to coexist as one and continue on with our goal moving forward. Like, how the fuck do you deal with those kind of people?
Well, that's a great point, Tommy, and I can feel people's frustration with that because a lot of people do have, say, office jobs where they go in and they have all these quirky characters or people that are rude
Well, hang
or
on, buddy, hang on, not to cut you off, but I don't think we can position just office jobs. This is in the movie business. This is like
oh, sure.
we're talking movie stress.
Well, at least with movies, Tommy, movies are like a family that comes together for between 4 and 8 weeks, and then at the end of that term, people split apart. Of course, you might bump into the same people, and you probably do on future projects. So there might be someone that you're working with, like you said. It could be another actor, it could be a technician, someone on the lighting team, whatever, that you just have a personality conflict with. And it's a great point. How do you deal with that? I mean, there's a few ways, I guess. I mean, one thing here, Tommy, is empathy. Sometimes if someone's a bit of a grouch or a bit of a rude person or inconsiderate, if you just take a moment and say, you know what, I don't know what this person lived through in their childhood. Maybe they were abused as a kid, physically, emotionally, or even worse. Maybe they have a spouse that they're breaking up with. Maybe they have a kid that's on drugs. Whatever, there's could be a multitude of reasons why this individual is grouchy. Maybe there's something about your personality that is like too outgoing or too comedic or too zany, and it reminds that other person of someone from their life that they're not, that they've had issues with. Sometimes you just take a step back and say and depersonalize it. Like if this person is rude, maybe it's not them being rude to me; they're being rude to the whole world. And you know what I mean. You don't have to feel like you have to, like you said, you don't have to be best buddies with every single person you work with. But if you can depersonalize it, I think that's a big first step.
I think that is a terrific way to kind of sum it up. We don't know what another person is going through. We don't know who's shitting on them that day. What kind of stress are they getting from 18 different directions? My kind of answer to it, Mike, was very similar to yours. It wasn't so much seated in who knows what kind of trauma of their past that someone might have or whatever, or how you make them feel. And those are great points. And I'm not taking anything away from that. But for me, I think it's just like, there are so many various sort of instruments to play, if you will, in the symphony of what makes up a movie that you might have caught a piece of attitude from a particular crew person, not realizing because you don't play their instrument, not realizing that, well, they're stressed out because like they're about to go play their solo, so to speak. Like they're about to
Right.
do something very important for their specific skill set. So like maybe they gave you a little gruff there, but that's just because they got somebody in their fucking ear, literally, like everybody in the crew has an earpiece with everyone chirping commands constantly into their head. So much so that like I've heard from many crew people that like when you go to bed at night, you hear those phantom sounds in your head. I mean,
Oh
it
God.
really like get to you. Like that earpiece hasn't been in your head for fucking hours. You close your eyes when your head hits the pillow, and you can still hear, copy that coming through 10-1, so and so coming through, flying in, blah blah blah. Reset the vehicle. You're still hearing all that shit. Switching to two, go for so and so. So like people are just naturally balls of stress sometimes on a movie set, and I think you need to just remember, like Mike said, depersonalize. Someone might have got a little shitty with you, but you know what? They're probably going through some shit themselves right now. Maybe you should just take a step back, kind of breathe, and realize that, you know what? I don't have any heat with this person. I didn't fucking do anything to them. They're probably just upset about something else, and they're doing that old famous word, projecting. They're just projecting their own frustrations out on others, and hey, it happens to us all. It doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah, you another episode we did the worst days on set, and I think I told a story about the music video that I was working on, and I had a conflict with the director, and then we ended up on another set together, and I kind of that was 6 or 7 years ago, Tommy, and I'm still thinking about it, and I guess in that second scenario when we were on the set together, he something happened that was a little disruptive, and I didn't act or feel the best about it, and so kind of like here we are so many this was 2015, 2014, and here we are in 2022, and I can still have that sense memory. And I don't know about you, Tommy, or other actors that are watching this, but sense memory is very powerful for me, and that I can remember a lot of things that from my life, and how not just what happened, but how I felt about what happened at the time, the emotions that were tied to those memories, and also how I felt about other people that were involved in those situations. And that might be good for acting, Tommy, but it's not always good for living in the present or moving on or getting over it or not holding a grudge. So, I mean, there's a duality there with having a good sense memory.
Yeah, there's a famous quote. I think it's Maya Angelou. I could be wrong, but it's like, people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel, something along those lines. And I might be paraphrasing, but I think there's a little bit of that, uh, to what you're saying.
Yes.
Um, we're gonna kind of segue to a different form of stress now. But let's talk a little bit about, because again, and I'm not trying to take any shots at the movie business, because every facet of life is fucking stressful. That's the thing. A lot of creators, a lot of movie people like to try and make them seem like their jobs are so unique in terms of the level of stress. Hey, man, I mean, like there are literally, like, doctors in a trauma room right now doing a fucking surgery on someone who just got rushed into the hospital with a gunshot wound. So it's like there are a lot more stressful situations in the world. That said, hey, stress is stress. We all get it. So let's talk about, what a weird segue. We're gonna go from a gunshot room, gunshot ER trauma situation to what, hey, in my opinion, I'm an actor. It can be almost as stressful, at least to make a joke about it, but like auditioning stress. How about the stresses of auditioning? How do you overcome the stress of auditioning and rise to the occasion and perform well with all that stress hovering around? Will I get the part? Are they going to like me? Are these other motherfuckers in the waiting room going to start a conversation with me so that, it's going to bother me and I'll be off my game? Or if you're not even doing an in person audition, like, what about the tape? Is my tape going to be good? It's one thing that gets me about the self tapes, which is kind of
What's
funny.
up?
It's almost like the double edged sword. This is one thing that causes me some audition stress. Well, we have the benefit now of doing a self tape, which means we have the benefit of doing it as many motherfucking times as we want until we think that we've got the best one. And that can stress me out sometimes. Like, okay, I
Oh,
just did
right.
it, on average, like when I do like an audition, like I just auditioned for something. I don't know. I think it was yesterday, the day before, whatever the fuck. All these days are melting together in the summer, but I auditioned for something, and it was literally, I want to say it was like 2 lines, like, it wasn't a big audition. Sometimes those can actually be the hardest.
Right.
And I did it, like, 5 times, just, like, set the tape, hit the button, and I just ran it out a few times. And now I'm like, "Ah, fuck." The stress of, like, which one do I like best out of these, obviously, like, out of the 5 or 6, there's a couple that aren't the ones. But then there's always gonna be, like, a couple that are like, "Ooh, do I want this one or do I want that? I like how I said this word. I don't like how I said this word, but I like the way my face looked in this one." Because 'Cause we're fucking with ourselves, because that's what we do as actors.
Right.
So how do you deal with that kind of stress? I think, like, that's a stress that I think we should discuss the most because all the other stuff, like, all right, how do you deal with the fucking assholes in the audition room busting your balls? We've already talked about that on other episodes. You just you treat it like don't give a fuck about them and go in the corner, do your shit. And if they try to talk to you, just say like, "Hey man," and use this. I like to use the scrunched face defense with the
Right.
whisper. Try combining try combining the scrunched face with the whisper, and it's like this. Hey man, I really haven't memorized this. I gotta go. I gotta go put this in my head. So good to see you. Try that one. You can memorize that.
I
Hey
like that.
man, I gotta go put this in my head. I'm so behind. Make it on you. Make yourself be the. I'm a big piece of shit. Why do you even want to talk to me? I gotta go memorize this. I didn't do my homework. Please have mercy on me and don't fucking bother me. Is kind of what the subtext of that is. So we deal with that. That shouldn't be a stress. Going into the room is going to be stressful, of course, but you got to take your deep breaths and realize that this is the hardest it's ever going to get. I mean, like once you book that part, it's going to be easy. This is the hard part. So like just remember that, if you don't get picked, who fucking cares? You're going to get called in again. The casting people aren't going to be like, "Wow, Mike's not booking a lot. Let's never call him again." That's not what they're going to do. It's their job to get you in that room as many times as possible. So instead of worrying like whether or not you're going to get the part, try this on for size. Instead of being like, am I going to get this part? Be like, is this part going to come to me? Like, am I the person for this part? Rather than being like, I'm going to go and apprehend the part.
Right.
Is this the right part for me? Because remember, ultimately, at the end of the day, and we do this all the time as actors, if you don't get the part, it's not always because you suck. It's not because you did a lousy job. It's not because you stunk up the joint during the fucking audition. You're just not what that director's looking for. And it could be as simple as a vibe, a feeling, a tone of your voice, the way I hate to say it, guys, but it's a visual business. The way you look, like that director when they were writing or writer director whatever, they might have just saw a blonde person and you're not blonde. Sorry. So it's
Well,
like,
here's yeah.
go ahead, buddy. So I'm just to sum it up, like, don't be so stressed because like it ain't you. It's not you. It's just what they're looking for is different.
Well, here's the other thing, Tommy. Sometimes, like, say that they're casting male and female parts, say for brother and sister roles, and you and I would go in there and audition for the brother role, and then
Right.
some ladies would go in and audition for the sister roles, and say they cast an Asian American actress as the sister role. Well, suddenly Frenchy Mike and Italian Tommy are out of the running for the brother role. They're going to look for an Asian American male to play the brother because they love the sister Asian American actress so much. They cast her first, and now they've got to get someone who matches up with her. And so many things like that can happen. Tommy, height. If another actor or actress is cast in this project, the height of them might, like, hey, I'm 6'2.5". That's a little bit tall for acting in a lot of cases. But I can't use that as an excuse because I met Tim Robbins, and Tim Robbins is 6'6". So who am I to complain that I'm 6'2.5"? The other thing, Tommy, I want to jump on a little bit. You did mention, I know we're jumping back and forth between live auditions. A friend of mine, Lawrence O'Leary, once said that he sees auditions as an opportunity to act, which I thought was a nice thing to say. And many, acting coaches have said this, including myself in their classes. Sometimes when you're auditioning, you're not just auditioning for that part, you're auditioning for your next audition. You're presenting yourself, and if there's a 1 in 100 chance that you're going to get this role, well, what could also happen is if there's two or three or four or five professional entertainment people in that room watching you audition, maybe down the line, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, 6 years from now, one of those people remember, like, hey, that Tommy guy from way back when, that audition, he had a really certain thing that would work for this project. So my point is, you don't want to get so hung up like it's a do or die situation every single project, because as long as you're professional, you're respectful, you don't make a scene, so to speak, outside of the actual acting scene. Uh, you show them that you're a person they would want to work with either on this project or something else. One last thing I'll say, Tommy, is kind of like what you were saying. Actors sometimes get so wound up about if they're going to get this one particular spot or not. Well, here's a little lesson. Sometimes it's just not your turn. There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of actors and a lot of actresses, and a lot of people have talent, and a lot of people work hard. So if you're working hard and you have talent and you audition and you don't get the role, it's just not your turn. Someone else gets to play with the toy this week.
Yeah, again, what Mike says there about not your turn, it's just like take your personal shit out of it and just think of it as, you know, the little spinning device didn't land on you for this one, and this ain't your mission. But like Mike said, take it as an opportunity to say, well, I still got a chance to act in front of some industry professionals. I still got a chance to kind of flex those muscles and get out there and do my thing. And obviously, law of 10,000 kicks. The more auditions you do, the less nervous you'll be, the better you'll get, the more confident. Like as an actor, like I've been doing this since I was really seriously since I was like 17, 18 years old. I'm 38 now. It's been 20 years, okay? I'm just now figuring out what like the one or two things I'm good at as an actor. And I really mean that. I'm not trying to be self-deprecating. There's a couple things I'm good at that I can do that I know that I can do and go make money with. Just a couple things. And it literally took me fucking 20 years to figure out what they were that I can now confidently do on a regular basis and present to people. And by people, I mean industry film people. So they can be like, all right, this guy can play ball. And I'm only good at a couple things. Don't get me wrong. I ain't trying to say I'm Shakespeare. But my fucking point is, and I should have said, Shakespeare is, not known as much as an actor. It wasn't the best reference. Give me a break. It's been a long day. But my point is, this shit takes so fucking long. So just enjoy the process. And as time goes on, the more you do it, you'll just get better at it. And you'll eventually find your one or two things that you feel confident that you can do every time on camera. So again, like I think back to the audition, maybe your one or two good those one or two good things that you do just don't line up with this part. And just to sum up auditioning quick, how do you pick the best take? I think my advice for that is I have two pieces of advice, and we won't spend too much time on this because I don't want you to spend too much time on picking the take. Uh, Obviously, if you trust them, this should always be like a friend or two that is a confidant that has your best interests. It's always good to show, hey, check this out, and what do you think? And a true friend, true blue, will just give you that knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, I like this one better. Um, Now, hey, maybe you want to say, well, I don't want my whole fucking future of my career to hang in the balance of a pal and what they fucking think. What do you think? Well, usually when I watch an audition tape of myself, I'll have one that immediately kind of tickles me. I think
Right.
that's the best one. But then sometimes if I go away from it, now I know like sometimes you're under the gun and you don't have the benefit of doing this. But sometimes if I go away from it for literally like 15, 20 fucking minutes, an hour, get away from it after you record it, go back, watch it again. Suddenly, the two or three videos that I thought were really tight in the running, suddenly after an hour, I'll be like, oh, wait, that's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. So, like, if you're nervous about and if you're getting stressed out about which take do I have? But I got fucking six takes that I like. This one's a little faster. This one's a little slower. This one's intense. This one's funny. Fucking take a minute. Go breathe. Go get a snack. Go have a drink. Smoke a cigarette. Do whatever the fuck it is that you do. And then come back an hour later and watch them again. And I bet you one will start to stick out a little bit more than the others. So try that next time you're stressed out about which audition take for your self tape to pick. Real quick, chiming in, we've got Stephen E. What's up? How you doing, Stephen?
Hey, Stephen E, what's up, buddy?
I know Stephen was doing some election work tonight, so hopefully that went out well. He was helping out at the polls, I believe.
Well,
Uh,
thanks, Stephen.
yeah. So here
Helping
we
our democracy in progress. Hey,
Yeah.
Tommy, I wanted to say something about that audition tape stuff, and I'm not trying to undermine what you were just saying, but sometimes, bro, I'll admit to this. If I really can't decide between take one and take two, I'll send them both, and I'll just put in the notes or the email. I, I'll just say quick, like, take one is, first video is my first choice. I tried a little something different for the second take. If you have, and I don't even say, Tommy, if you have time to watch both. I did a little something on the other take. And Tommy, as someone who I've watched audition tapes myself, if someone sends me two takes, I'm not going to hold it against them. I'll watch both. I mean, I'm already there, right? So, I mean, watching another is
Yeah,
not
I
going to
mean,
kill me.
listen, I hate to take a pussy-footed approach to. I'm not sure where I stand on that one, Mike. I really, I think this might be one of the first times on the show that we'll have a conflict because I think that I know this sounds nuts, but I think part of the test is sort of like, what's the one, man? Because
Right.
I don't have all fucking day. I don't have all fucking day to watch everybody's 2, 3 tapes. Like if every actor sent 2 or 3 takes, they'd be sitting there all fucking day. So it's just one of those things where it's like I often treat the casting process like it's getting lunch at a really strict Russian prison. And it's like keep your
Jeez.
fucking head down, put the tray down, do
Soup
exactly what
Nazi.
do exactly what they fucking said. They said, name it like this, put your name in, and fucking shoot it out. Because guess what, man? Like, you don't know, and I ain't taking any shots at anyone who works at a casting agency. But what if you get that one really fucking particular casting agent that's like, huh, they didn't follow the fucking directions. Fuck this guy. I ain't even sending this fucking tape in. And I know that sounds nuts. And you're like, that would never happen. Would it? Would you ever know if
Probably.
Would you ever know if it did? No, you wouldn't. So my philosophy, and I love you, brother, but it's okay for us to have our disagreements.
Agree to
I would
disagree.
I would pick just one tape and send it out because remember, and I know what you're thinking. Like, well, when you're in an audition room, there are situations when the director will be like, okay, now do it like this. Save that shit for the callback, baby. Wait till you get that callback. That's just my philosophy. Y'all can do what you want on that one. I don't listen. I don't like Mike said, if they really like you, they would watch both tapes. I'm just worried about that one crazy, spiteful, fucking casting person. Maybe it's even an intern. Maybe it's not even the fucking person who's running the show. But maybe
Right.
they're just like, oh my God, can you believe this person sent me 2 versions? Delete. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, bro, I'll say this, and not to beat this horse to even more death, but I mean, some projects, like for instance on Actors Access, they might like. Well, I'll just say this. I cast something for this proof of concept video, and and I'm a little bit different. When I do stuff, I put feel free to submit up to 3 takes of the audition. And
Oh,
bro, the
you
person
know
that I
what?
ended up casting, the person I ended up casting only submitted 1 take, but several people sent in 2 or 3 takes, and I saw the differences, and I was like, I'm glad I did that because I saw the full range of what people were capable of. And like I said, I'm a little bit different in my style than a lot of people who are more under the gun with time, and I
Right.
understand that, but I think the idea that I'm trying to get at is read the instructions on each individual casting opportunity because like Tommy said, it very might well be they only want one take, your very best one, and others like something that I might put out there, they'll take more. So depends on the project.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it because that's kind of what the moment that I was going to highlight was when you said, I told them to do this. So it's like you instructed them to do that. If the instructions don't say it, it's up for debate.
Sure,
But
I hear you,
we're
buddy.
gonna move on down the road and be talking about a different form of stress. And I think that's going to be. Listen, we need to do a whole topic on this. I think that we could literally spend an hour talking about this, but we're just going to briefly touch upon it a little bit, and that is the stresses of social media and how you market yourself as an actor, writer, or a director. What is it that you put out for your brand? How much should I post? Am I posting too much? Why isn't anybody liking this? I normally get 10 likes after an hour. I've only got 5. Why does everyone hate me today? All these kind of things can stress us out, right? So,
Yeah.
just some things that I want to touch upon briefly about social media. And this was told to me by a very big influencer. I don't want to name drop because, frankly, it was just like a one on one piece of advice that this person gave me. Um, but this is what I have to say about social media when you're promoting something, when you're marketing something. Obviously, I'm not talking about ridiculous, goofy photos of yourself taking a selfie with the other actors or whatever. But when you legitimately have something to promote, when you have a real, actual call to action that you're trying to put out there into the world, don't be afraid to post that shit all the time. And I mean it like every day, every couple days, like consistently. I should say, don't be afraid to post consistently because this is what this influencer told me. This person has over, millions of followers. And they told me, like, hey, man, and this person has a podcast. And they were like, hey, man, I've been doing the podcast for years and I have, over a million followers. And there are still some people that I know in my personal life that they're like, "Oh, you're doing another episode?" And it's like, "Yeah, just posted." Like, or, "Oh, you're doing this?" Or, "Yeah, I just posted." What do you mean? Like, I posted that 2, 3 times. And it's one of those laws of it. I think it's an old marketing kind of law, so to speak, where it's like sometimes you got to put a piece of information in front of a person's face like 3 or 4 times before they even fucking realize what you're trying to sell them, what you're trying to get at. You got to really beat that shit in their head because let's face it, in this day and age, we have so many fucking distractions that it's easy to forget that new short film that you're trying to promote or that YouTube channel that you'd love for people to subscribe to, Tom DiNucci's YouTube channel. Watch the
Or
week.
subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel, or both,
Yeah,
preferably.
both. Come on, do us both a favor. But there's just so much out there to distract you that you damn right you got to post that shit every fucking day. Show them how convicted you are into getting people to kind of see your message. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be doing it 3 4 times a day. But if you have some really nice content and you present it in a really nice way, and again, we're going to probably do a whole episode on this, just social media and how to market yourself. The thing is, don't get stressed out about the reaction. Did you get a lot of likes? Did you not get a lot of likes? It doesn't
Living for
matter.
likes.
Because here's the other thing, guys. People are motherfuckers. There are a lot of people that they saw your shit. They saw it, and they ain't gonna like it.
Didn't you
They
used to have
saw
a
it.
friend? Didn't you used to have a friend, Tommy, that would look at your stuff and they would like a comment in the comments section of your posts, but they actually wouldn't like the post?
Yeah, man, it's funny, again, like I've seen it all, and it's hard to like all you can do is laugh, but it's like, the kind of people that like Mike said, like they'll the eighth comment on a post, they'll like, which means they're going deep and they're reading all them fucking comments, but they can't give you the satisfaction of adding to your total of likes because I won't throw my 2 cents into that cap. Like, they refuse to give you that fucking satisfaction. Well, you know
This
what?
was me, by the way. I was the one that was doing that.
I know, Mike.
You weren't, you got visibly upset, but that was
It
just a
pissed me
funny
off.
thing.
You know what else pisses me off? Because now we're just talking. We just riffing now.
Yeah,
I get frustrated
yeah.
when people comment on a post, particularly if it's a slightly douchey comment,
Okay,
you know, slightly flippant, whatever.
right.
You're gonna take the time to comment on my shit, but you won't give me the satisfaction of clicking one of your little fucking fingers and liking the goddamn post. You wanna box a little bit, you wanna throw a little sand in my face, you wanna fuck with me a little, that's fine. I like a little bit of playful fighting. I can wrestle around with you. I'll throw some words your way. We can go back and forth. I'll spar with you any fucking day of the week. But give me the satisfaction of a goddamn like if you want to do it with me. If you want to mix it up on my fucking page and comment back and forth, like the fucking post. Give me that much. But
Uh,
anyway, I ain't getting
enter
stressed about it.
enter Michael Jackson eating popcorn on this one for me. Uh, well, here's what I think, buddy. I mean, it is a generational thing, because people maybe in their 60s, 70s, 80s, they never had to worry about this social media stuff. But for the kids these days, it's a huge part of their life. There's social media bullying. And I would just say this, Tommy, when I started with Facebook back in 2008 or 2009, for whatever reason, I always saw it as like, this is not really a representation of me. This is like the character that Mike Messier is playing online. But
Well, it's a
over the
brand.
year,
It's a brand.
well, not just a brand, but like it's like a caricature of myself that I'm putting out there online for people. And so I never, I won't say never. I try not to. I'll admit, Tommy, especially with the pro wrestling groups, I'm a big troll. I look for fights. I look for confrontation to amuse myself. And so when people bring that back to me, I'm okay with it to an extent. But I have been with people, Tommy. I went to see a professional boxing match with a friend of mine, and she was on her phone for like the first hour because she's having a trolling contest with someone halfway across the country that she'll never meet. And they're arguing about some film thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're actually at like there's 5,000 people here to watch a boxing match in Twin River. Why are you on your phone debating with people halfway across the country that you'll never meet in real life? So it is a problem, and I look forward, maybe the next episode we do, buddy, or 2 or 3 episodes from now, the social media, because we could talk about this stuff all day.
I could talk about social media till the cows come home because it's one of those things that, remember, it's that necessary evil in life where if you're involved in entertainment and you don't have a social media presence, well, what the fuck? Do you even exist? Are you even a real person? I'm being a little, funny when I say that, but it's true. It's like I've worked with people before where, or I should say, like I've had conversations with people before that are trying to work with me or network or whatever, and you look them up online. For example, I've had marketing guys come up to me and try to pitch me something and hire me to market and all this shit. And then you look them up and it's like, you're a marketing guy. You got fucking 700 followers. What kind of fucking marketing guy are you?
Right.
Why am I going to follow a marketing firm that's got literally not even 1,000 followers? It doesn't make sense. Like, do you even practice what you preach? So it's one of those things where like you do need to have that presence, but you got to navigate it and you got to figure out how to have that presence, how to feed that dragon, and not get burnt up by the fucking flames coming out of its mouth because they're going to be vicious when they come out. Um, but let's talk a little bit about basically the bottom line for social media because, like Mike said, we are going to do a full blown giant fucking social media hoedown eventually. The bottom line is this: if a person's not willing to like your post or take a second to see what you have going on and really, give you that um, form of social media patronage, they're never going to give you a single fucking dollar. They're never going to listen to your song. They're never going to buy your album. They ain't going to buy your book. They ain't going to watch your movie. They're not going to download this. They ain't going to click that. They don't give a fuck about you. So, like, move on. That's okay. Keep an eye out, identify that shit, and understand that, like, okay, well, if this person's not vibing or like this group of people aren't vibing with what I got going on, move on and try something different. Try and, as they say in the wrestling business, maybe you got to try and learn a new hold. Because there's one of those things where, like, I've done it myself where I'm like, man, like I'm trying everything that I think is cool, and just it isn't like responding. Nothing's really clicking. Well, you know what? These aren't the people. This isn't the group for me. I got to go find my group. I got to go find like what is that niche group of people, whether it's horror movie fans or maybe I need to tap into more people that are into, you know, uh, sports entertainment or whatever it may be. You got to like really hunt down your audience because like if you're finding that you're not getting a lot of traction, again, don't be stressed about it because that's what this episode's all about. Think of some ways that you can change your game or find a new group of people to get behind what you're doing. Uh, but at the same time, remember the more you stress out about it, the more it's gonna like fuck with your approach to everything. Because when we're stressed out, we're not creative. We're not our usual selves. And ultimately, I think that again, we're gonna get into this more when we do our episode on it. But like, just don't give a fuck. Like, really, don't give a fuck about those people that don't like your stuff because they're not going to support you. So don't let them take any. Don't let them have any kind of residence in your head. They ain't living there. You
Don't
know.
don't let the non-believers dictate to you what you're putting out for the believers, or at least the people that are willing to give you a chance. And going to what you said, Tommy, about finding the right audience for your stuff. I used to go to open mics here in Providence, and there was a musician that had one great song, and this one great song had the title of the song and the chorus was the same thing, same song, different audience. And that was, I mean, just the song I thought was great because it's like you take your same song to a different audience, you might have a hit. Um,
That's a great kind of sum up to that whole thing there. You know, like maybe you're just not playing your song in front of the right motherfuckers. And once you do plug in and play it to the right group, they're gonna like the way it sounds. So let's keep it moving because here we are. You know, Mike and I had a long day, but we're still fired up. We're an hour in, and I still got quite a bit on my little show notes here. So we're gonna start to pick up the pace a little bit before, frankly, Mike and I just drop dead in front of the computer screen, and you
yeah,
just see us not there anymore. We wouldn't hate to. We'd hate to have that happen. Quick couple comments though here. We got Stephen E. Marketing, very important. Networking too. Yes, sir. We're going to get into that real soon. Uh, Miss Ash, it's good to have you with us here on In Action. Miss Ash
nice
has been
viewer.
chiming in quite a bit here. One of our consistent pals. I'm horrible with forgetting to do likes. I just forget though. I moved on to the next thing. Well, we appreciate that honest answer. You know, maybe, hey, you know what? This comment right here is just another reason to not stress. If you're not getting those likes that you had you hoped that you would get, maybe it's not personal. Maybe the person just had some shit to do. You know, maybe everybody, maybe the whole like let's say you normally get, I don't know, average person might be getting 20, 30, 40 likes on something. Maybe those 20, 30, 40 people that consistently chime in with your shit had their own stuff going on that day and they just didn't get to you. You know, maybe the algorithm was a little off, and maybe your post didn't go to the top of the feed.
Or maybe
Again,
there was a world event. I mean, I had our friend Joe Jaffo Carrier used to tell me, Tommy, that he would literally hold it against certain people if they were posting their own self promotional stuff while like a school shooting had just happened or something like that. Like
oh
if there
yeah,
was some, yeah,
I can
he
relate to that. I think that again, that's another topic for the social media episode. But
right.
that's a first off, Joe was a really he had a big heart on him, so I appreciate that. You know, he had that sentiment. Joe's no longer with us. R.I.P. Joe.
Mm,
But yeah, that was one of those things where you know, if there was some kind of tragic event that took place, or even if, you know, hey, quick shout out, rest in peace, Olivia Newton John. You know, we lost her yesterday. She was, of course, the star of, I don't know,
Greece,
I think you could probably say the most iconic musical of all time, Grease, in my
right?
opinion. Uh,
Xanadu,
yeah, I mean, she's just was an incredible star that made some really tremendous contributions to this world of entertainment. And I'll be honest with you, like I felt a little funny posting anything last night that you know like wasn't like a little nod to Olivia Newton-John. So like, you know, you gotta be a little tasteful about timing, and you know, like Mike said, if there's some great tragedy, don't be like, click my YouTube page. It's like, maybe do that shit tomorrow. But let's keep it moving. Let's talk a little bit about oh man, something that I've been getting better at, but I gotta say, Mike, this is something that's been stressing
mm,
me out probably like my whole adult life, and I'm only now starting to like learn how to deal with it. I'm a people pleaser. I can't help it. I've always been that way. I often feel like I'm more worried about fucking with someone's day than my own, and like maybe I don't want to upset someone, and so like sometimes when I get asked to do things, especially if it's a couple weeks in advance, I'll say yes, full well knowing that like in a couple weeks I'm gonna fucking dread doing this. Like, I'm really
Yeah.
not gonna wanna do this, but okay, yeah, I can deal with that. It's in a couple weeks. And then the night before will come, and I will fucking hate my life for agreeing to do whatever it is I agreed to do, and I'll say to myself, "Fuck, man, I can't back out now." Like, it would have been so easy 2 weeks ago to just be like, "Ah, nah, you know what? The 15th, got something to do that day. Can't make it. Sorry." And, it would have been like, rip the Band-Aid off, and then it's over. But instead, I betrayed myself. I agreed to do this fucking bullshit. And now here I am with, remember, I'm going to die. You're going to die. Now, some of my precious fucking time on this goddamn gorgeous earth is taken up doing some shit I don't want to fucking do.
Right.
So, like, I've learned recently, don't be stressed by things that you can simply say no to. And I know what you're thinking, like, well, how's that relate to the movie business, or how's that relate to the film business? Well, like, a lot of times, like, hey, do you want to come and do this? Do us this favor? Do you want to do that? Oh no, there's no fee for this. It's free, but it'd be really great if you helped us out or whatever. And
There's
I'm
no
not.
payment for this, is what you mean. They're not paying you to do something, right?
Yeah, there's no fee, but
Yeah.
come in anyway or whatever. Like all these
Right.
little bullshit things that we agree to because it sounds cool in the moment, but then by the time that the day comes, we're dreading it. I've learned how to like put some of that shit in perspective and just say to myself, and Mike, everybody listening and watching, Mike's done a lot of free therapy work by helping me process through shit, and a lot of times the things that he'll say is just say no because the other person probably doesn't care as much as you think they do. Your little cancellation, your little, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it," or, "You know what? I'm writing that night. I really shouldn't leave," or whatever it is, you may think that it's gonna, like, torment their day or you're ruining, like, if you're a people pleaser like me, you
Right.
might think that you're gonna fuck with them or you're gonna hurt their feelings, or here's another one in the movie business, and this is a big one. I think a lot of younger people, like, a lot of people who just get into the business, rookies, the kinda PAs, entry level type people,
Still in college, just out of college. Yeah.
they think that if they say no to something, whether it is, I don't know, work for free or can you come in and do this, even though I know we already paid you, but I'm gonna really, when they kind of ask you to do something that's above the call of duty and you're a little uncomfortable and you want to say no, but you don't really want to because you're afraid that if you say no, they're gonna take your name off the depth chart on the roster and throw it in the fucking trash and say, fuck that guy, we don't need him anymore. He said no.
Right.
Guess what? See how ridiculous that sounds, what I just told you? Well, that's how ridiculous it really is. If you say no, people are going to actually respect you more. You're going to suddenly raise your own goddamn value. And suddenly people are going to say, huh, that person has some fucking self respect. And they're not afraid to say no to something. But if you just say yes to every fucking thing that comes your way, yes, 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 guess what? People are going to take advantage of you left and fucking right, and you are going to suddenly whittle your soul away until you have nothing left for yourself because you fucking gave it off to everyone else for free. So just say
Well,
no. Just say no to some people and preserve some of your own sanity that way by simply saying no. And that means, hey, can you come in and do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you do this? No, think about me, 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 me. It's okay to be selfish in this business because guess what? Everyone else is. Most of the successful people are successful because they shut everyone else out and they just focused on the fucking task at hand. And when you're saying yes to everything, you ain't focusing on the task at hand.
well said, Tommy. And when you said selfish, I would maybe put a little bit of a pillow on that and say sometimes it's not selfishness per se, it's self-preservation. Because there's and I've experienced this with you, I've done it myself. When we make all these, even if it's like getting together with some person you vaguely know for coffee, and I'm going to give an example in just a second about me this week, buddy, and that's what I mentioned to you earlier before we were on the air, was if you're giving 1 or 2 hours of your day away to meet someone for coffee, hey, weren't you supposed to be working on writing your own script for an hour or two today? Weren't you supposed to be learning those lines for that stage play you want to audition for next week, or that film that you're looking to do? And aren't you, bro? I've got a friend of mine. I have to say, you know, we wrote a script together, and for three years or so, I've been telling him to memorize a monologue for a proof of concept video, and we're going on 3 years now. So it's like, come on. So, but here's the story I wanted to tell you, Tommy. That's right to your point. I was coming up here from Florida. I'm happy to be here in Rhode Island, and a gentleman who I've never met in person, but I've actually done a few favors for him in the film world. He knew that I was coming into town, and he sent me a nice message. Hey, do you want to get together while you're here in New England? And I said, yeah, sure. Uh, when or whatever. And basically, what it came up was he could only meet on a Friday night. It's like, no offense, man, but do I want to meet somebody on a Friday night that we've never even met before at all? And then the second bone of contention was, I said, well, I'm here in Cranston this week, and then I'm in Warwick for a couple of weeks. And and I basically said, why don't you meet me at the Starbucks on Bald Hill Road in
Right, right,
Warwick,
right.
which is a comfortable spot for me. And his response is, well, I'm in wherever the fuck, man, pretty far away from Warwick, Rhode Island. Can't you meet me halfway? And my response to him was, I just drove up from Florida. And that was the final line of that Facebook thread. And it's basically like, hey, man, I just drove 3 fucking days from Florida to New England. You're asking to meet me. As far as I can remember, you've never done anything for my film career, but I've given you a couple of little helping things. So what's my obligation to drive halfway from where I'm at? I'm already putting thousands of miles in my car to get to wherever the fuck, halfway to Massachusetts, wherever the fuck it is. So the bottom line is, once I said I just drove up from Florida, and I just left it up to him. Like, hey, are you going to give me an LOL, or are you going to say, oh, I get it, I'll meet you down there? He didn't say anything, and we're not meeting for Friday night coffee.
Yeah, and you know what? And I know this sounds awful, but it's the truth, and I want everyone watching to pay attention to this. Now collect all the times that you talked to this motherfucker. Pack them up, stack them up. All that time was a waste of your fucking time.
Yeah,
That was all a waste of your fucking time. The
right,
advice you gave this ungrateful fuck, the fucking time spent just saying what's up, was all a fucking waste of time. So that kind of brings me to my next point in how to avoid some of this stress. Avoid stressful people altogether.
right,
You should be working with people in this creative world. You should really try to work with people that give you a warm, fuzzy feeling, as corny as that fucking sounds. You know that Eagles song, I get a peaceful, easy feeling?
yeah, and I know it won't let me down.
Yeah. When I work with people, I want a peaceful, easy feeling. And that makes me feel more creative. It makes me feel like being 12, 13 years old, hanging out with my friends, running around the backyard, playing manhunt, getting stupid, being goofy, being free, having fun. Well, if people stress me out, I can't have fucking fun with them. I can't I can't thrive creatively. So
Right,
get those fucking people out of your life. And that kind of brings me to this. Remove yourself from stressful situations. We've all done it before. I think we did this a lot. I think everybody can kind of relate to this. Like this happened to me a lot. Like in high school, like there was this group of kids that like they were just fucking dickheads, and they would like bust balls with me all the time. But for some reason, I kept going back. Like I was
yeah,
just like a glutton for the like. Why am I hanging out with these kids? They're all fucking assholes. Then eventually, you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, these people fucking suck, and I don't need to be around these people.
yeah,
I'm around them by choice. So make better choices and get the fuck away from the people that are stressing you out. Because back to the beginning, not to be morbid, you're going to fucking die eventually, some sooner than later. So
yeah,
why are we wasting any of this precious time on motherfuckers that are going to stress us out and not give us that peaceful, easy feeling? It's not worth it. Remove yourself from the stressful situation. Remove yourself from the stressful people in your life.
I like it. I'll give a little foreshadowing to our social media episode, Tommy, which I feel is going to come sooner rather than later. I've got a wonderfully talented group of people on my block list. My block list consists of many people, filmmakers, actors, actresses, other entertainment people, mostly from New England, who have annoyed me, who have bothered me, who have bored me. There's a few on there that I actually like in person, but their social media presence is horrible. Like they're always looking for fights on social media, but when you meet them in person, they're great people. There's one guy in particular, a great guy in real life, but he's always looking for that social media fisticuffs about everything. And I had to block him because I'm like, you know what, man, you're bringing up like most of the time I agree with you, but you're so combative with other people that I know, and I find myself getting dragged into your milieu, if that's the right word, that I need to block your ass. So I did. And bro, sometimes I joke about it, but if you ever look at my Facebook block list, you'd be like, man, if these people weren't such assholes, they'd make a pretty good film production company because you got like everything covered. You got the cinematographer, your producer, your director, your writer, your actors, your actresses.
I got a whole goddamn roster of blocked talent here to work with.
Mike's blocked film production is a pretty good team if they weren't a bunch of douchebags.
Well, you know what, Mike? Credit to you for recognizing that life is too short for these motherfuckers. They make me feel upset,
Hmm.
and I don't wanna I believe this is a Gandhi line. I'm gonna paraphrase it and butcher the fuck out of it. But he says something like, something along the lines of, like, having feelings of, having those kind of negative feelings, it's like drinking poison. Like, you're
Right.
literally, like, drinking your every time you see that motherfucker's post and it makes you upset, makes your stomach feel a little funny, makes you just go like, "Oh, I fucking hate this," or whatever. Whatever that negative shit is that's in your belly, you're drinking poison to create that feeling. That person's poison, get rid of them. Off the list. Out of sight, out of mind. And then guess what? Every time you log it on, you're gonna have to drink that fucking double shot of poison and feel like ugh, ugh. Get that feeling out of there. That's not a good feeling. We're not supposed to feel that way. That feeling is almost like that little feeling, that little flicker that we get in our belly. You know what that is? That's like our little natural defense mechanism that tells you that's a motherfucker that we don't need in our life. Listen to your body. When you feel those feelings about people, they ain't wrong. And like I said in the beginning, this ain't nursery school. This ain't fucking kindergarten. You ain't gonna get along with everybody. Not everybody's gonna be your friend. And an important part about avoiding stress is recognizing who's your friend and who's a motherfucker that you just don't need to deal with. Get rid of them. And you can block people. Remember, too, you can block people in real life just like you block them on social media.
I
Just
found
because.
that it goes hand in hand, Tommy. Like when I've blocked people on social media first, for whatever reason, the secret or manifestation, whatever, I find that if I block them on social media first, I see less of them in real life, and
Well, that's
that's just a
probably a good
coincidence.
thing. It's
Yeah,
probably a good thing. All right, so real quick, this is kind of a this little short chapter in our book of craziness tonight. Putting stress in perspective. Sometimes when I'm stressed out about something, and remember, I'm not saying like I'm the perfect bill of how to deal with stress. I fucking bang my head against the wall for hours at a night sometimes when I'm worried about something. Mike will tell you because I've had to call him up many a nights to process something that's stressing me the fuck out, and he's had to talk me off the ledge many a times. But
happy
one
to
of the
do it, buddy.
I appreciate that, brother. But one of the things that I have to, again, we're works in progress and we're trying to evolve as these gray hairs poke out of my fucking chin. I'm trying to get a little wisdom along with them. And one of the things that I'm learning is you got to say, will this matter tomorrow? Like this thing that's bugging me right now, is it going to matter tomorrow? Is it going to matter in a week? Is it going to matter in a month? Is it going to matter in a year? And when you really like start doing that and looking at it like that, day, week, month, year, the closer you get to year, you're going to be like, God damn, that ain't going to matter at all in a fucking year. Like, fuck this shit. Why am I wasting my precious fucking time with this bullshit? and move the fuck on. And I have to remark, because our man, Mr. Sanchez, just chimed in, and well, he
Hey,
thinks my gray looks amazing. And brother, that really means a lot. We appreciate
that's
that.
nice. Thanks, Andres. Is that how I say it, Andres Sanchez? You like that comment so much, you put it up twice, brother. The
I had
comments, the comments
listen.
so nice, we
Hey,
put it
listen.
up twice.
It's so nice we put it up twice. So we're gonna move on now that I think again, simple point. Just like think about it. Like, is this gonna really matter down the road? Probably not. Move on. Okay, so here's a big one. I think this is really important. It's important to have friends that aren't in the movie business. It's important to have friends that aren't in your branch of entertainment, whether they're actors, writers, directors. That's what this is, a film podcast, right? So, like, I find that sometimes when I work with my non-film friends, a lot of shit kind of comes to light in my mind. I find that the movie business is a very unique place where people are willing to do shit for that idol of fame, for that
Right,
big fucking carrot that's always dangled in front of our head, that in any other line of work, people would be like, "What? You want me to do what?"
right.
And, wait, I'm coming why am I doing this? No, no, I'm gonna just find a different job. This job's not cool. Or I'm gonna work at a different no, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna find a different gig, or I'm gonna pass on that one. Whereas there's something about the movie business where, like, we're so afraid to say no and to be chastised or blackballed or, again, roster, take that little nameplate off the depth chart and throw it in the trash.
Right.
And I think that, like, what it comes down to is, like, when you hang out with people that aren't in the business, they'll kinda just tell you, like, "Oh, well, when that happens to me, like, I just move on or I just do this," and again, like, you can get some really great insight by kinda looking at how other people handle their forms of stress and their particular business and compare it to what bullshit you got going on in your movie business, and you say to yourself, like, "Hey, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I love making movies. Yeah, I love telling stories, I love acting, whatever it is, but at the end of the day, it's a job, right? That's what we're trying to do as a job. It's nice to see what other people do in their jobs, and remember, the more you start treating your acting career or your writing career, your directing career, the more you start treating that shit like a real fucking job, the more it'll actually start coming to you like a real job. You'll actually start getting that. Remember, we're all trying to make money here. That's what
Start
at the end,
paying like a real job. Yeah.
start paying like a real job. That's kind of the phrasing that I was looking for. So again, hang out with people that aren't in the business and kind of bounce some of the shit that you're going through with them and hear their perspective. Uh, we make the joke that, like, those are civilians, like, as they
Right.
say, like, the non-movie people. See what they have to say about what's stressing you out. And when they look at you like this, like, what the fuck are you doing that for? You might say to yourself, "Oh yeah, yeah, that is pretty crazy. You wouldn't do that in your line of work." Like, nah, fuck no. I would have hired another guy. And I know it's tough because I'm not giving you like an exact example, and I wish I had like a better exact
I've
example.
got a few exampons, Tommy,
All
about the
right, well,
difference.
let's try to, again, we're approaching the hour and a half mark, but
Sure.
we're gonna wrap the show up. But give us one example of that.
Well, just the difference between the normal working world and the entertainment world. In the normal in the entertainment world, for instance, if you do an audition, whether it's an in-person audition or an audition tape, they might say nice job or good job or whatever, but unless they want to cast you for that role or have you come in for a second audition or send in a second round of videotapes or videotape in Tommy's case, they are not going to contact you to say you did a great job but we went in another direction, or we went with someone who looked more like the actress's brother or whatever. They're not going to take the time to write you an email or a text or a phone call. They're just going to hire the person they want to hire, and the other 99 out of 100 actors are going to get zilch. Now, if you go into the normal working world, and yes, maybe in some situations the exact same thing, but if you were to apply for a job at the grocery store and you didn't hear from them in a few days, you might just pick up the phone, call the grocery store. Can I speak to the manager? Hey, sir, I had a great interview with the other day. Did you decide to hire me for the grocery store? No, buddy, we didn't. We went with someone with more experience, but check in with us next year. You might get a little more professional courtesy in the regular world with the follow up. Now, I granted there might be some situations where you don't get that courtesy, but it's so understood in the acting world that if you don't get the part, you're not going to hear anything. And on top of that, Tommy, they're not even going to give you a window of time to expect whether or not you got it. You know, they're not going to give you an expectation
Yeah,
of
there's
if you
never
don't
gonna
hear,
be a there's not gonna be a "We'll let you know next week." No, you
right,
ain't
or
getting.
they're not going to even say if you don't hear from us in 2 weeks, you didn't get the job. It'd be nice if they even said that, but and that's as actors, we
You know
have
what,
to
buddy?
tolerate it and we have to accept that that's part of this crazy industry we're in.
As they say, "Don't call us, we'll call you." That's
Right.
some real shit. There's a
It
reason why
is.
that expression exists. It's a real thing. Um, all right, let's wrap it up here. We're getting to that point. I just want to talk about kind of one last. Again, this was supposed to be. I hope this was somewhat helpful for you people out there that are nice enough to take the time with us every week and hear what the hell we got going on. And it's nice to share a little bit and hear what you all have going on too. My last little piece of advice would be I've been doing this for a long time. Really my whole adult life, like ever since I was 18 years old, like I was involved pretty deeply into this industry in one way, shape, or form. Uh, and I guess like the one thing, sometimes it's about survival because like you're gonna have successful periods, you're gonna have some shitty periods where things aren't quite going your way. You're gonna have great moments of disappointment. You're gonna have great, wonderful moments of high highs and great success. And the one thing to remember throughout it all is to find something, a hobby, an activity, find something that you love to do that has nothing to do with your particular branch of entertainment form, whether you're an actor, writer, director. Find something that you love that when you do it, you ain't thinking about a goddamn thing but that. For me, some of the examples that I'm talking about, I'm a good old fashioned video game geek. I love playing video games. I also love podcasts. I love listening to podcasts while I'm playing video games. I'm a big sensory guy. I need to have like 8 fucking things going on at once to really kind of like get my attention. So like for me, if I'm playing the right video game and I'm listening to the right podcast, and maybe I got like a Red Sox game or some kind of sporting event on off to the side, yeah, I got a lot of shit going on. If I have like the right little combination, the right little cocktail of Tommy sensory activity going on, I ain't thinking about a goddamn thing. Like if I'm getting chased by zombies and blowing their heads off and having some fun, like those are the things that just I'm not thinking about work for that 40 minutes or that hour or whatever. When I play the guitar, and I'm not good, I'm a hack at best. So don't fucking take this the wrong way. But when I play the guitar, it requires such a great amount of focus on like what I'm actually fucking doing that like I'm not able to really think about what's troubling me or like what's bothering me. Like that's something that I like to do that can completely take me out of the world. I like to work out. Working out's a big thing for me. Like when I'm working out, if I'm having a workout, I try to like put my body through a form of torture where I'm not thinking about that bullshit. And I'm focused so much on what I'm doing where I'm when I'm training that I physically can't really even think about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get through my workout. And I know that sounds like a little like, a little hard on yourself, but you need to find things that completely take you out of it.
Right.
Otherwise, remember, as creatives, we don't have the benefit of punching a clock and getting in our car and leaving the proverbial plant or the factory or the office. Our office is trapped in our fucking minds. And a lot of us, that's a scary place in there. So it's very important to find ways that, all right, I can't get out of the office. My office is my fucking brain. So I need to remove myself from my brain in a way. And I'm not talking about going on a fucking bender and getting drunk or getting
Right.
wasted. I mean, listen, that's a whole nother topic. I'm talking about finding something or some things that you love so much that when you're fucking doing them, you ain't thinking about anything else. And that's it.
Safe escapism. Safe escapism.
Yeah, healthy escapes. And one other wrap up to this. Sometimes it's smart to find a hobby that takes your mind off the bullshit that also can maybe help you in a weird way with your acting career, with your writing career, directing career. I know what you're saying. Like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, we talked about like as an actor, like we all have these like special skills that we like to put on the bottom of our resume. Well, hey, maybe you can like learn how to do something really great that like, oh, I learned how to like, I don't know. Again, this is I'm thinking of fucking anything, but I learned how to play the harmonica. And then like that audition called for a harmonica player, and I can play. I can play the harp. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Or
one of those things
badminton.
where, like, spend some fucking time on some shit that might, by some crazy byproduct, land you a fucking job down the road because you're doing something that you love to do. It takes your mind off of it, and you're getting something out of it. Um,
Horseback riding is a big thing like that, Tommy. For whatever reason.
Andre says, "Great words, brother. Awesome episode."
Thanks,
He's got,
Andres. Very nice of you,
I love
buddy.
I love this array of emojis here. This
Yeah,
is kind of like
he's got some top level emoji game
this
with
array of
Andres.
emojis pretty much sums up Tommy DiNucci in 6 emojis. Pretty well done, brother.
My
Um,
buddy Robert Marcella and a couple of people, including Tony Demings from his little Brooklyn coffee house reunion, had also commented they've been watching the broadcast of And Action, Tommy, and they
no, that's
wanted to let you know that you're doing a great job and everyone's enjoying the show over there.
we appreciate that. Hey, do you think this is a quick aside to everyone listening? And you just did it, and I'm not trying to call you out for this. I do love calling you out because you're one of my best friends. But
Sure.
do you think that people are insulted when you just said, "Yeah, Tony at his little Brooklyn coffee house reunion"? We all do this. We put the word "little" in front of things, and it's like naturally belittling, but we don't mean it.
Sure.
Like I
Yeah.
have people, hey, yeah, you're doing your little acting thing, your little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
We all put the word
Your little film with Megan Fox, Tommy. Yeah.
you put the
Right.
word "little" in front of something, you can't help but like just like sound like you're shitting on it.
Yeah.
Hey, you still doing that little book that you're selling, Mike? What's that little book?
Yeah.
I'm giving you
Oh,
an
fight or play
opportunity for a
basketball that
plug
I
here.
spent 5 years writing. Yeah, my fight. Well, if people go to MikeMessier.com, they scroll to the bottom, they can see fight or play basketball. Bad Girls with Good Tattoos by Kate
Hey,
Spade.
I said a little plug. Now you're trying to get 2 for 1 out of the deal.
I did write a thing about directing student short and no budget films. It's a book with a long title that I even have a hard time memorizing. But I appreciate everybody inquiring about the books. I saw a gentleman, a filmmaker, Angel Canal, yesterday who enjoyed my book very much, and he gave
Hey,
me a very nice praise.
we didn't wanna go on a tangent about your little
Oh, I
book.
thought.
I was just I was just making a little joke, and it got out of
Sure.
hand.
All right,
Um,
buddy.
Everybody, I hope you're not stressed out this week, but if you are, just know that you can kinda rewind this, have a couple laughs, and maybe if you take even one fucking thing out of this episode that relieves a little bit of your stress, I feel like Mike and I did our jobs for the week. It was fun chatting with you. Again, we both had some long days today, but, kind of fun, man. It's kind of fun to have a long day like that and then jump on this podcast and, uh, kinda chop it up with everybody and talk about what's going on and get into this wild world. The movie business is so deep. It's fun for us to peel back all these different layers and see how there's different, ways to approach this wild world of entertainment. It's kind of like the nuts and bolts version of it, or I
Right.
should say, scratch that. Fuck, I don't even know what the fuck I was saying. It's almost like a restaurant. There's like the front of the house and the back of the house. Some episodes we're talking about the kitchen and what goes on in the kitchen, and some episodes we're talking about what happens in the presentation in the front of the house. Today was very much a back of the house episode.
Oh, okay.
Today was about, it's all in here, the kitchen, the part that nobody sees, but the part that, well, without that, you ain't getting any food. That's where all the fucking magic happens. So we kept it in the kitchen, back of the house, focusing on the important stuff, which is just blocking out all the bullshit and cooking up that fucking food that's going to make everyone feel real good. So thank you for listening and being with us today. We appreciate all your time and checking in with us. Remember, if you haven't already, please do go to my YouTube channel. That's Tom DiNucci. Punch it in, hit subscribe. Really trying to get to a certain subscriber goal that we have in mind. If you watch the show, hey, once in a while, it wouldn't hurt. Maybe share it out. Say, hey, I watch this every week. These guys are on. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. We would love some free promotion from y'all.
Somebody Reddit us. We need to be Reddited, Tommy.
Yeah,
Reddit,
give us a little Reddit
Reddited.
love. Smash that subscribe button. Tell your friends, and we will most definitely see you next week for another episode of And Action. Guys, don't stress. Let's have a very fucking stress-free week. We'll see you later.